I get my proof copies back, and it's my final edit that I go through, and I've read it out loud a few times, and have done, it's gone through several different people, but you still find things on these last ones. And so this was a little sentence here, and it said, dogs seem to give a slight nod in the affirmative. And so when I was coming through here, I don't know if you can see that. It's not focusing, but I started just crossing out, and dog gave a slight nod in affirmative. I got rid of 2 words, and it just didn't, and it's just stuff that can be shortened. And you'll find these things all the time. There's another one that I found over here where originally it said, soon Hank came upon the fresh bread in all its glory. And I got rid of the soon and the came upon, because that's kind of a cliche type thing. And then I just put Hank spied the fresh bread in all its glory. And I got rid of, and didn't end up using a word like see. Like see is a very poor verb choice, there's just so many other things that you can do that will add more to the drama of the story.
Yeah, that's it's interesting, isn't it, how sort of in the different mediums. So say there when you've got the book in your hand and you're looking through it, you spot stuff that you've probably made several passes of that page on the screen and never seen that. And then when you've got it in your hand and then you start spotting things, it kind of like has your mind working in a little bit of a different way.
And I think we've talked about this on a different show, but where you come in to a text, I'm sorry, I should have grabbed it, but you start to look at how the text is flowing along the page, and where, if you've got these long groups, and how much paragraph you have, and when, you've got the shorter lines. And if you're finding these large parts, that's something you need to look at, because anytime a reader comes across something that feels overwhelming, well, then it has a greater chance of them putting it down.
Yeah, and overwhelming, and sometimes they might even find themselves confused or simply bored because it's dragging out something. And as you say, it goes back to the pacing thing that isn't the main focus of the story, and you're moving towards a rising tension, and the prose is dragging its feet.
Yes, exactly. Now, although this one is not necessarily in fiction, but it certainly can happen in your nonfiction writing, where you want to try to appear more intelligent with your writing, and so you start using larger words. You start filling it up with legalese and big paragraphs, so that you can sound like it's amazing how every level that a person goes up in their education, it seems that their paragraphs get longer, also get more complicated and harder to read and understand. And so then you're just, you see how that can immediately remove readers. You're trying to get this so it's accessible for everyone, so that they can really get into it, understand it, and they don't have to have a doctorate level degree to get through your book.
That's right. It's sort of getting past that, wanting to sort of reach for a thesaurus and choose a really flowery sort of word that hardly anyone's ever heard before, because then if someone has to stop and then go and look it up halfway through reading the story, then you're not like you say, you're not writing for an academic journal. you're trying to anyone to basically come along and pick it up and enjoy the story.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing, and although it's certainly not on the filler side for what we've been talking about, but definitely with the word choice side. So originally, I was trying to come up with titles for Hank Hudson, and the first one the one that I was really kind of latching on to was Hank Hudson and the Ethereal Darkness. And my wife is ethereal, I don't even know what that word is. How is a grade school kid gonna know what ethereal is and what that means? And but because I go through and I'm oh, I want to find something that means this, and you're looking through all these words, and this one sounds really cool and mythical, but if no one knows what it is or what it means, then you could be lost in the connection.
Because obviously we like words, so it's easy to get really taken with a cool word. I remember when I first realized what ephemeral meant, and Just started using it all the time. It's like, I've got this fancy new word, so I'm going to use it.
Yeah, your $5 words sometimes aren't the best choices as well. And although they're not a filler necessarily, you want to make sure that your word choice is strong and understandable, and not too, out there.
Thank you for listening, and come back next week for more. Please visit thebookeditorshow.com for show notes, links to guests, books and extras, and for information on how to be a guest on the show.